Hello and welcome to my YouTube. Oh crap, what is that? Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. This is another video on a Monday night as promised. We'll keep the Monday night ones going as long as we possibly can. So a new video every Monday night in Auto Guy's Life, and today we're going to be doing a nice little job on the Mustang here. Something that if you own one of these cars over a few years, you're going to have to do it at some point. Very, very easy to do, and that is to change the battery. So the batteries in these cars are just, well, regular flooded ones in my case. You can buy an AGM if you wish, but it's a really easy job. And first thing to do is pop the hood. So battery location on your S197 Mustang is in front of the passenger seat at the top here. Thankfully these cars have only got one battery to deal with, so it's not too bad. So there's plenty of access here. There's nothing that you need to take out to remove the battery at all, with one exception, just this little clamp here, and it's 8mm spanner you need for both the positive and the negative. Mine's got the positive protective cover on it, but it's the same type of fitting that you need to remove it. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to show you how I test the battery to make sure I do need to replace it. I've got a little battery tester that I'll leave a link in the description below that you can buy pretty cheap, and we'll just test this battery and I'll show you the results. Alright, so I've got my little top-down battery tester here. You just hook positive cable up to the positive terminal, negative to the negative. And as soon as you plug it in, it gives you a reading. You can see mine there is 12.14 volts. So it's getting pretty low. It's getting to that stage that it could dip under 12 if I leave it for long enough. So this little tester, you hit OK, and you can do a test. You can do a normal battery test, a cranking test, and a charging test, which we'll do on the new one. But the battery test I want to do today is just this number one. So it's a regular flooded, and the CCA is cold cranking amps, and it'll tell you on your battery what your cold cranking amps are. Mine's is 550. So I hit OK. You can set it up or down if it's more or less. Mine's is on 550 already, and it will run through its little test. And we're doing this in real time. I'm not going to skip it, I'm not going to edit it out, I'm just going to let it do it. Right, okay. Battery test come back. So it says healthy, gives you a percentage, it's at 21%. Charged 27%, 12.16 volts. And it's got the rating of the CCA there, and it says replace, which I knew because it was starting to kind of let me down. So this battery is pretty dead, and even inside the car, if you've got one of these S197s, press OK on that, that's got the readout inside the car that you can see your battery voltage. I've noticed mine, when it's been charging, sat previously at 14.5, 14.3, and it's now barely above 13. So this battery is on its way out, and chances are it will let me down very, very soon. So I'm not even going to bother doing a cold cranking amps test on it. You basically start the engine and press the cold cranking amps test, and it will tell you if it's good. The charging test will tell you if it's good as well, but that first test is enough to let me know this little bad boy needs replaced. So let's get it out. Grab yourself an 8mm spanner. I've got a little ratchet one here, and loosen up the negative cable first. Should be enough just to take it off. There we are. And you just put the negative cable out the way, and then we go into the positive one. There we go. Positive one. There's always a bit more to your positive cable most of the time, so it's a bit chunkier, but it's just exactly the same procedure, and I can set that aside. Right, the last bit to remove is the little clamp down tool, and it's an 8mm again. We'll use a little ratchet just because it's easier to get into than the spanner, and that's just got a little clamp down there, see it? It's loosening the strap that's going over the top of the battery, so I'll get that one removed. Once you've loosened that up, you can unscrew the rest by hand, and it should come out as one little unit there. See that? You just set that aside again, stick it up in the cowl there, and then your battery is good, to be removed. I'm going to put the phone down and video with two hands because they can be quite heavy. Ta-da! Okay, and now's a good time to give your battery tray a little clean. This one's not too bad, just covered in dust. Sometimes they can be clogged with all sorts of nasties. Don't know what that is. A few leaves, no problem. But we'll get the hoover out, we'll give this a quick clean. And also in your battery tray, you'll notice there's a few spacers. So these little things come out. So these things are spacers in case your battery size is slightly different. And they just fit in there and the battery notches up against that as opposed to having some free space. So the new battery I've got is a slightly different size, so we'll see if we need them or not. So let's give this a quick clean. There, gave it a squirt with some multi-purpose cleaner just to spruce it up a little bit. It's a battery tray after all. I'm not going to whip out the dual action polish or anything like that, so that'll be, I can live with that. So let's go and check out the new battery. Alright, so here's the old battery and the new one, and as this is a US spec car, sometimes the battery sizing on the manuals might be different to what you look for here in the UK. So what I tend to do is measure the length, measure the height, measure the width, look at the cold cranking amps and get one that's equivalent. So with this one here, it's a 550 cold crank amp, it's about 240mm length and 175 height and depth. So this is a known UK retailer, kind of like your AutoZone in the US, or O'Reilly's or something like that. So Halfords are pretty well known. And what I did though was I got one delivered from Tanya Batteries in the UK. So they do a rake of different batteries for various ones. They do the GM ones with the points at the front, and they do these ones as well that are suitable for the kind of size of the recommended in the American ones. So this one is a slightly higher amperage. It's a 600 cold cranking amp, but it's 240 odds in length, 175 depth and 175 in height, so it will fit nicely just the same. And they come packaged pretty well. That's the packaging there for it, so no need to be concerned. And these come within 1 to 2 business days. So caution, not suitable for start-stop. Start-stop, don't know about you, but that's one of the features. If I have a car that's got that, it gets switched off straight away. Can't stand it. Anyway, so let's get this one fitted, and this one has the positive terminal here, negative here, same as this one. And that's one of the key points you need to look for as well, where your terminals are situated. Your positive cable might be over here, and your battery a different brand of car, so make sure you're buying a battery that's, or here, sorry, they just flip it around, maybe on the opposite sides. So make sure you get a brand of battery that's going to fit. And this is a decent brand, so it should last a good 4 or 5 years. Cool, let's go and put it in. And I should have said as well, most of them will come with these types of covers to cover the terminals. Half the time they just snap off, or they'll just kind of connect it on like that, so nothing to be concerned about. Just remove them and chuck them in the bin. Right, so that one slots in there nicely. However, you'll see the spacer at the bottom there. It's just a few mil over the size of that spacer, so it's sitting kind of that way a little bit. So I need to remove that spacer, then it will sit flat. There we go. So just remove this little spacer. It was just a little bit too snug for that to be fitted. So that's what happens when there's slightly different brands to different sizes. It'll be absolutely fine. It will be held down with the strap, no problem. So what you do is, before you connect up your terminals, hook up any brackets or supporting straps that you've got first, just to make sure that you've got a secure fit. Right, so that's that tightened down nice and snug, and the way you can tell it's okay is if you give the battery a shuggle, it does not move anywhere, and this little clamp here just goes over the lip at the bottom of the battery and holds it firmly in place. This strap's just kind of there as an additional support because it's not super tight, but that isn't going anywhere, that's fine. Positive terminal first. Then the negative one. That's you, nice and snug, 8 mils all round. And now we go and turn the car on and realise that nothing works because something's went wrong. Ha! That's a good sign. We have light, we have illumination. We have illumination in here and here, suggesting that the new battery is good. Let's just start the car and we'll see what's happening. Now that will happen when you start it. It will take a couple of turns because you'll just disconnect the electrics completely. And what I want to check is, on this car you can actually see the battery voltage. There we go. Right, you see that? I should have taken that before I took the old battery out. But, wait a minute. The voltage here is what it's charging at, and it's basically sitting over 14 volts, whereas previously the old battery was barely getting over 13, so it was dead. So some cars don't have that, I appreciate it, but that little battery tester that I showed you at the start, let's go and hook it up to the new battery and we'll see what the reading says. Brilliant. Ah, nuts. I need to change my clock again, I forgot about all that stuff. We're now in August. We'll faff with that later. That's one thing you'll need to do, is make sure all your entertainment unit is up to scratch with the correct date and time and all the rest of it. If you want to see a video on how I install this, I've got another one, but this is actually hooked up via my Wi-Fi at the moment, so it should sync pretty swiftly, and I'll just leave it actually and see if it does that. Let's go and check the battery anyway. Oh, there we go, just on time. Everything's up to date. June 29th, 1318, and a whopping 15 degrees Celsius in the UK, and it's almost July. Great. Anyway, here's the voltage. It's sitting at a steady 14.3, charging nicely, and that should be us good for another few years. I do keep my cars on a trickle charger if I'm not using them for a while. I've got a C-Tech one, I've got another video for that if you want to see it, which keeps the battery healthy if you've got the car not in use for a few weeks or whatever it is, so that does tend to make them last a bit longer. So there we have it. Alright, so hooked up our tester to the new battery, went in the car. Straight away, it's sitting at 12.61 volts. Right, what I've done this time is on the battery tester that's hooked up to the new battery, I've run the cold tank and amp test. It's saying good. And then we can run the charging test. And this will do this little charging test on it and see how it's going. We can check the alternator's charging properly. Boost RPM 2500 and keep it for 5 seconds. And you go round. Let's see what happens. A friend would be appreciated at this point. 2,500. There we go. Oops, sorry. And it says charging normal. Engine is purring away nicely. Just replace that belt as well. Alright, so there we have it. One new battery installed. All of a 5-10 minute job if you're doing all that testing as well. It doesn't take long at all. So I'll leave the link to the description of where I bought this battery from Tanya UK, but you can get the same spec and get it anywhere in US shops as well. So once again, hit the like button. Thanks again for watching. Hit subscribe and we'll have another video out on next Monday. Brilliant. Thank you very much. Have a good day.